Vais a flipar con la competi, tío. El al lado de Samson Dauda flipa pipas, tío. Vais a flipar con Rubiel Mosquera, tío. Mirad estas piernas. Escúchame. Qué puta burrada, tío, de piernas, Parecen de dibujos animados, tío. Qué barbaridad,
And he beat Nathan Diasha, which I think was a big feather in his cap because we've never seen them go head to head before. Nathan being kind of a more established pro league bodybuilder, while Krizo was still relatively new to the pro league, so that was pretty big for him. But Rubiel Mosquera making his pro debut here, taking third, was huge for him. This was a huge victory for Rubiel.
A ver si se ven bien.
A ver, ahí las poses frontales del Mosquera vais a flipar en colores, tío.
Vais a flipar, nano. Mira qué gemelos, Mira qué piernas, tío. Parece un rollo de kebab, tío. Las piernas del Mosquera, tío. Qué barbaridad, tío.
Krizo, like I said, I think he looked tighter than the Olympia. Nathan Diasha, I think, looked better than Romania. Rubiel Mosquera obviously looked better than he looked last night at the amateur show. And looking back at like old pictures and videos of Rubiel from when he competed in the IFBB Elite Pro, I think he brought something here that was much more competitive.
Mira, parece un rollo de kebab, tú. Parece que tenga ahí, en vez de piernas, dos rollos de kebab. Dos durums. Flipas, Es una animalada, tío. Es una puta burrada, tío, lo de ese pavo, ¿no?
It was just kind of a reminiscent thing, both of them coming from the other IFBB, doing really well at their pro debut, both bringing a similar strong point in the fact that they're both kind of mass monsters from that other organization that now we've got everybody in the IFBB Pro League. We're still waiting to see Vito on stage, on a pro stage. We've got these freaks and these stars.
Que es una salvajada, tío, lo de ese pavo, tío.
The IFBB Pro League, I feel like right now is as competitive as it's
es que, escúchame, es que estando Samson y Krizo, que me gustan los físicos que llevan, tío, es que no puedo dejar de mirar a Mosquera, tío. Con las piernas esas que llevan, que es que lo que te digo, es que pesarán 20 o 30 kilos cada pierna de ese tipo.
And I feel like it might be soon. There's the Japan show next week. Rubiel, I think, has the same goal. And I think Rubiel, based on what we saw here, I think he is capable of winning a pro show. I mean, keep in mind, had Samson
el momento en que saque los buenos cortes ahí en las piernas esas, veremos,
Realistically, nobody was beating Samson as long as Samson
veremos a ver.
Was
que no clasifique más arriba,
He's the top 3 Olympian, and Derek and Hadi aren't doing any other shows. So any show that Samson does, he's probably going to win if he's on. So had Samson not done this, Krizo would have won and Rubiel would have been
qué salvajada, tío.
So just for him to only be behind two
top
10 Olympians, two first call.
Es que el tren superior dice, bueno, pero mira las piernas, bueno, y el pescuezo que lleva que...
And I really would have, honestly, I really would have liked to see how Horse MD would have done it.
Que por algo le llaman Nexila. Y este era Horse que no ha podido estar porque por lo visto se estaba cagorroteando vivo. ¿Sabes? Una guerra en el bathroom. Qué lástima, tío. Qué lástima lo de Horse, tío. Porque llevaba buen físico, en verdad. Hubiera estado ahí peleando también. Que en el Rumanía quedó tercero. Con prácticamente los mismos competidores que hoy.
And not risk his health competing, which was the right decision. And I guess he was also going to do the Japan show next week. He's now also not doing that show. I have a feeling you could see some of these guys do Japan as well. Krizo, Rubiel, maybe even Samson. But think about the momentum that Samson is about to have going into next year's.
Y Samson, escúchame, menudo físico lleva Samson,
We can't say that he's going to win both the
Lo de Samson, tío, también es de otro planeta.
But I think there's a really strong probability.
Qué físico y qué flow me lleva para posar, el cabrón.
Realistically, probably won't do either of those shows. Nick Walker probably
menudo flow.
Won't be at 100% yet for either of those Arnolds. So even if he were
es que es un vacilón, en verdad,
he'd probably still be affected by that injury. I don't think he'd be back to 100%.
Unos tacos, chaval.
So with those guys not competing or injured, who's really going to beat Samson at either of those shows?
Mamita.
So Samson would be going
Qué
off
brazos
3
tú,
pro wins in 2023, a
qué
third place
bestia,
Olympia
tío.
finish, and potentially 2 Arnold Classic victories, the UK and the US. I think if things
que me contáis gente por ahí por el chat. ¿Cómo veis a Samson, no? Hostia, tío. Espectacular, el Samson, tío. Los brazos sí que es verdad que tendría que meterles más cañita, ¿no? O los bíceps por lo menos, para que tener un poquito más de ese pico de bíceps. Pero, ¡fua! Menudo escándalo, chaval.
Now he's got $20,000 more from winning these 2 shows. And if he goes on to win both the
Arnold dijo hace poco que suele tomar un batido de proteínas en el que suele incluir, entre otras cosas, cáscara de huevo.
Sí.
Y esto es algo bastante curioso.
Tío, por favor, no.
Cáscara de huevo. $430,000. So he's almost at $1 million in prize money just from one competitive year. Without even winning the Olympia, he's got to have the most prize money of anybody in a long time in that span of time. If he does, again, it's a pretty big stretch to say
está gigante,
win both those shows, the UK and the US.
Que es un monstruo, tío.
Stand to challenge him. Maybe an Andrew Jacked would show up, but Andrew even said after the Olympia he wants to take a really serious long break and a long off season and give his body a rest, something that he says he hasn't been able to do since
densidad, en verdad, en la espalda, tío.
I don't think we'd see him there. I think Samson will be relatively unchallenged at the UK and the US show. Now, a couple other things to mention. Classic physique, Michael de Bull took